questions about the abortion issue because, to be honest, I'm an independent. I'm on the fence. I'm like learning, and so I'm looking around at everybody. So my question is, what's your feeling about it? I mean,
Hey, Juan, Laura's calling you.
Yeah, I think she had help with the kids. Because I think they're all
She's
here.
texting me right now. I was talking to Sam. She was texting me. Give me 1 second.
Sure. I just
Juan Ciscomani is running for Congress in Arizona, and he's taking his run quite literally as he took off running and apparently didn't come back from that question. If you couldn't really tell from that constituent who asked him, she goes, I'm an independent and I'm just trying to figure out which way I'm learning about everyone's stance on the whole abortion issue. When she began talking to him is when he reached out to that staffer or handler, whoever they were, and they rushed to his assistance and immediately whisked him away to safety from questions about this. This kind of goes along with what we're seeing happening with Republican Congress folks, candidates especially. After Roe v. Wade had been overturned, and they were very proud of it, and they said this is the direction our country needs to go. These Democrats need to stop whining. Then they started losing primaries and losing special elections that they weren't prepared to lose, that they were ready to just have this red wave, and they're wondering if this is it. I think they're really getting closer to figuring that whole thing out. Here's a couple other instances of it, by the way. We mentioned this before. House candidates, this isn't the graph, you guys, but Blake Masters, the Republican Senate candidate in Arizona, removed language that said on his website that said, I am 100% pro-life, removed it. House candidates Tom Barrett of Michigan, Christian Castelli in North Carolina, Barbara Kirkmeyer in Colorado, they also removed language from their websites. Kirkmeyer's campaign said it recently completed a complete redesign of Barb's website. Redesign, they call it. Minnesota's Republican nominee for governor, Scott Jensen, changed the copy on his website to water down abortion language, removing lines that included, he believes in the sanctity of human life from conception to natural death. Suddenly they don't believe that anymore because they're reading the political winds and they're like, we might lose over this. Let's act like we never had these stances before because principles are our number one thing. So Ciscomani, don't forget his name. He ran in person and it probably won't show up anymore for these types of questions, or at least they'll vet the audience and be like, do you care about women's reproductive rights? Okay, you don't come in. Seems to be where they're gonna go with this. First on this, before we go to the other instances of Republicans that like to run. I would have loved to be there. Someone should follow him. Hey, I have another question for you, Mr. Ciscomani. Why didn't you answer the first question? What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, people are far too understanding and far too ready to let politicians off the hook. The woman who asked the question, he's like, I'll be right back. She's like, oh, of course, no problem. You could have answered the question quickly and then walked away. Also, if you listen closely, I listened to this about 18 times last night in my ear closely to hear exactly what it said was inaudible. Somebody comes over and says, do you mind? I think we need help with the kids. When something's urgent to come over, you don't say, I think, like you're making it up on the spot. You say, oh my gosh, urgent thing with the kids, please come. Not, I think we need help with there's a fire over here in the, the guy just looks also like a real uncaring jerk. You'd see him chewing like gum or sunflower seeds or dip or something. And he's like, oh, we got questions from somebody who actually I'm gonna be accountable to? Yeah, I gotta go. And just bounces like a little bee. He just gets out of there as fast as possible. It's disgusting. I also, a few other observations. Do you think it's a random chance that he and his campaign team chose red hats to wear for their campaign outfit? That's interesting. I ran for office, and the reason to run for office is to help people, to help the country, and not to be afraid to speak to your constituents. It's like literally your most solemn obligation when somebody is sharing their concerns with you. You got to drop pretty much everything and answer them. Yes, of course, there are times people might be trying to take too much time and asking over and over again. Not question one, and not an easy question. Just answer with your position and then bounce. But first, actually give some information to these people. And you're exactly right. It's because They are ashamed of their position. It's because their position is not actually a deeply held one. It is a politically held one. The P on your hat is for politics. And that is what these people are playing with people's lives, with the legislation of this country. They're literally saying what position. That's why they were for overturning Roe v. Wade all this time. It was not an issue the Republican Party cared about until segregation became no longer an issue that was politically helpful for the Republican Party. So they needed another wedge issue, another cultural issue to get in the way of us all being a country that cares about each other and getting along and trying to do what the majority cares about. And so they chose this, and as soon as it wasn't politically helpful, they're bouncing off of that. It's all about polls to these people. They're not pro-life, they're pro-politics.
100%. I always point it out whenever we see Tucker Carlson or when President Trump was in office and they're speaking off of teleprompters and we go, what a disgusting, horrible, racist, bigoted, misogynistic, hateful thing to say. And we go, I can't believe they think like this. It was written. It was pre-planned. They want that message going out exactly the way it went out. In this case, he had a coordinated effort with his campaign folks. He put out a hand, they came over, they had some kind of a story about some help needed for some kids. And he also said, oh yeah, I got a text from so-and-so about it. There is a plan put in place that's coordinated in case you get a question you cannot answer, or unless you don't want to answer because you know it's a bad answer.
Which also, JR, which is people should know, which is why at TYT we don't use teleprompters because we actually try to keep it roll it back in prompter real quick. We try to keep it real. Thank you so much. I misread that.
Just a natural flow. In case you guys don't believe that, just listen to me speak every once in a while. You'll understand I'm not reading a teleprompter.